what do you think of like this like thought about libertarianism? Because like I always kind of, when I'm thinking about, you know, how I like feel or how I fit myself in or whatever, a lot of times I'll think like, to me, a lot of times I'll see like liberty or freedom or whatever as like a medicine more than like a philosophy, where it's like sometimes you're kind of like, you see certain things, you're like, yeah, this needs more, you know, that. And but like sometimes you see a thing and you're like, this actually might benefit from a little more order, you know what I mean? So it's like, do you see that kind of thing? You know, like in a household, you could see, think about like even just a household even, where it's like everyone's doing, it's all wacky and you're like, well, this place doesn't necessarily need more freedom. It might actually benefit from a little more structure. Or
yeah, no, so to me, I look at it like when you're talking about like political freedom, like freedom from the government, you know, it's like, so to your point, like, yeah, there's situations, right, where there might be like, I don't know, there might be a household that's like way too fucking rigid and stringent with their rules. And you go, you guys could benefit from like a little more freedom of like to do what you want to do. And then there might be a household where everyone's like fucking crazy and drug addicts or something. You guys need some more rules. Yeah. That you can't do that. So like, that's true. With chaos versus order, there's always a balance. But when you talk about just like, whether legally you support like being a libertarian or not, the only question that it comes down to is who should go to jail. Like that's all to me being a libertarian is. It's like, and the very basic question is like, who should fucking men with guns come and grab and throw in a cage and fucking enslave? Well, so the point is like, it's not like should heroin be legal is not a question of like, should everyone do heroin? You know, it's like, the point is just like, can you throw someone in a cage for doing heroin?
Kind of how
or should it just be like, there should be some other solution other than fucking someone with a gun puts a gun to your head and goes, I'm going to shackle you and throw you in a cage.
I mean, it's essentially the lazy, easy solution too, to be like, that's the easiest solution really, is to be like, yeah, we're just going to get our henchmen to throw this guy in the cage, problem solved.
And it doesn't really work very well. No. And so to me, I go, like, if you go, who is it like morally acceptable to fucking like put a gun to their head and go, I'm putting you in chains and I'm throwing you in a fucking cage right now?
Women?
And I would, women, minorities,
sure,
Jews, minorities. No, but I would say someone who's like a violent criminal.
Yeah,
someone who's like a property criminal. You know, someone who like
there was no government,
stole all your
work?
shit. Well, with no government at all? I mean...
Or I guess it's not. Obviously, that's like not actually the... Yeah, you're right. You're pretty good at like saying, I don't want to have these like whimsical fucking conversations about like a different
I'm
country
just saying like
exist.
Stop throwing fucking people in jail for fucking non-violent victimless things.
Course, yeah.
Now that, but to your point, that
that's
doesn't
more like
mean
college
anything
kid
else.
like maybe conversation that I was.
Well,
saying.
but I mean, even that's like it's an interesting idea of like what. Well, would someone do that if it wasn't the government? I don't know. I mean, from my perspective, I see most of the time, like when you had the riots in 2020. I think
cops weren't doing anything
the cops were
peaceful
actually
protests.
Yes, the peaceful protests. Right. But what the cops were doing was stopping anyone who was defending their own fucking property from fucking defending it and arresting them.
So that wasn't
more than arresting.
necessarily.
So I'm almost saying if the government didn't do it, it seemed like there were a lot of people willing to fucking do it. To just be like, all you'd really need is to have no fucking gun laws and let a few people click some AK-47s and be like, get the fuck off this store. And that
only happens in America.
I'm not saying that's fucking perfect. I'm just saying of all like what's better than the other alternative, and the better with, like we say, it's all trade-offs. The better thing is just like be a free society.
It also isn't like, there is also the argument, probably maybe to you it doesn't, but I feel like it changes a little bit as technology exists, and like we are living now, not 100 years ago. Because I think in my mind, you go, if you said this government had like no power, it'd be like, okay, so in 6 months the mafia is going to own this city. Like it feels like a power vacuum. You just have criminals take over. But now
people
often actually more likely what would happen would probably be now you go, no, Amazon now owns this city or something.
Well, I think that so from my perspective, it's almost like the opposite of that. I think a government is, like if you say the worst case scenario of the mafia taking over is what a government is.
Sure.
Like what the essence of a government is the most powerful mafia that took over the whole fucking thing.
Do you think they're worse than the actual mafia?
I mean,
you're not going to get like, well, I was just going to say you're not going to get tortured, and then I'm like, all right, I guess you're going to.
Yeah, I mean, dude.
By what? by what
It's
possible
like protection money is like literally just property
look,
tax.
just
Protection money's probably more.
remove yourself from
Protection money's property tax.
yeah, it's like property taxes.
Yeah.
They are the mafia.
So remove yourself from whatever emotional connection you have to the word mafia and to the word government. By what possible objective metric could you say that the government is not worse than the mafia? Like, if you want to go, how many people they kill, how much money they steal.
A jury of your peers would probably be the first one I would think of.
Okay, sure. So you have a jury of your peers.
I don't have a jury of like his, 3 buddies to decide. I get to have a public trial.
Sure. So
Maybe that's
I
better.
suppose I would say that a jury of your peers is an illusion, that they go, so we will make up the rules, we will have a government appointed judge, and then we will present this illusion of like, oh, but the people decided whether or not you should go to jail for 15 years over having a fucking
But
ounce of
sometimes
cocaine
you can beat the system
in your
though.
pocket.
No, sometimes there'll be like
Yes,
a guy.
yeah.
But you're actually
But you could beat the mafia
You can
system
beat
by
the
just
mafia
fucking paying them off.
system,
Dude, it's all... Listen,
Okay.
man...
I'm back in.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not like defending the fucking mafia. I'm just saying that it's like, basically I'm saying that they are the mafia. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the government is a gang that just fucking won. Yeah. That won out so much that it's like there's no other fucking gang that could even fuck with them. They have complete territorial control, and the other gangs are just rivals to the government.
Yeah.
So like look,
The mafia, it's like now that's the Scarboni brothers down in 2 streets over.
yeah. The fucking like the cops are a fucking gang. The fucking military is a gang. I mean, like, what is the
It's all
fucking
gangs.
like? What is the fuck? You ever watch like when George W. Bush and Saddam Hussein? Well, they had like dueling like videos that they had right before the war, and George W. Bush basically said he goes, Saddam Hussein, you have 24 hours. But right before we launched the war in Iraq, he made this video address to the nation and to the world, and he goes, Saddam Hussein, you and your sons have 24 hours to surrender yourself to the international community, or we will invade Iraq and overthrow you. And then Saddam Hussein, and this is one of the most gangster things I've ever seen in my life, Saddam Hussein had a response video to
Your
George
OG
W. Bush,
response videos.
and he goes, I thought this was so fucking gangster. I'm not a fan of Saddam Hussein, but this was pretty badass.
Like his first album.
And he goes, George W. Bush, you have 24 hours to surrender yourself to the international community. he goes, if you invade, we will fight this war and we will win this war. And I remember watching that and being like, oh shit, you are fucked.
Yeah.
And it's not because he's more right or
That's
wrong
a
or
big
anything.
my dad's better than your dad combo.
It's just like, no, this fucking gang, the United States of America, will fuck up your Iraqi gang.
The Donnie,
and they did.
Yeah, he's the
and they did.
Benny from the Bronx who didn't
Yeah.
like that.
And these motherfuckers, like all this shit. You know, you ever see like the you remember the Partnership for a Drug-Free America? When we were kids, they used to always run that.
This
Just
your
say
brain
no.
on-
Just say
this
no.
is your brain on drugs,
Yep,
the
yep.
X?
All those guys, right? They used to run all those commercials, and they were like, you could almost argue, like you'd be like, oh well, here's my argument. I actually think that pot isn't as bad as alcohol or tobacco or whatever. But the Partnership for a Drug-Free America was funded by alcohol and tobacco companies
fucking
and pharmaceutical
crazy,
companies.
right?
It's not like they got it wrong. It's just fucking gangster
I mean, the crazy-
shit.
yeah.
They're just like, yo, this is our fucking competition.
And here's who's in
so we're
charge.
gonna
It's
fucking
It's like tainting
squash
the other
it.
guy's drugs.
I mean, the
to
crazy
kill
thing,
people.
Yeah, that's all it is.
The Alex Jones thing from last week, where his settlement, whatever, and then did you see the thing with like the Sacklers or whatever, like the Purdue Pharma who makes OxyContin, and like they killed tens of thousands
Yep.
of people. Their settlement was like $645 million,
Right.
And
So it has
Alex
nothing to
Jones
do
got
with-
$945 million. And like he didn't kill one person; they killed.
Well, it's right. So it's almost like
So
we're
many
sitting
fucking
here
people.
Same
going
with
like,
Martin Scrally versus the other people.
or whatever, but they're like they just
yes,
show them side.
but-
Yeah,
Right. So guys like that who are like kind of outside the connected system, they get demonized. And it's not that they shouldn't be demonized. It's just kind of like, if there was like, the mafia is coming around and they're just kind of like, hey, they're going to a pizza place and they're like, hey, listen, there's a nice place you got here. Yeah, maybe you buy sauce from us or your whole fucking place gets burned down.
Yeah.
And then someone else has some different sauce and they're like, this sauce is fucking killing people. And you're like, yeah, but the sauce you're selling is killing more people. And I'm like, yeah. No, no. But like, we're just gonna focus on how this sauce is killing more people. So it's all of it is fucking gangster shit. And like you said, property taxes, income tax. You fucking like if you take a step back and think about like the fucking income tax, and you go, what's happening here?
I'll tell you, in February March I took a step back and thought about the income tax.
1,000-yard stare thinking about it.
I took a big step back.
When you start fucking making money, you really go like, huh. But look, if there was like, let's say we didn't have an income tax.
I walk around in New York and I see public employees and I tell them I pay their salary now.
You're right.
I hit them on the head.
I go, you work for me, pal.
But the truth is that it's really quite the opposite. That you work for them.
Yeah.
Like very literally. You work for them. You work and pay them your fucking money. And you can hold on to this illusion that they work for you, but that's just the bullshit they tell you.
Except you can't
tell them. The truth is you work and then they take your money and give it to them.
Yeah.
But look, imagine we didn't have an income tax in America. And then imagine, let's say the Soviet Union still existed, right? And the Soviet Union invaded our free country of America and took over America. And they went, hey, we're installing this new policy. Okay, and we're creating this bureau called the USSIRS, and what we've just decided now is that it's a crime to work, and the punishment for that crime is a fee, and the more you work and the more you produce, the higher your fee is.
Sure.
And you remember how you used to have a Fifth Amendment? Where you had the right to not incriminate yourself? Well, now you are mandated to incriminate yourself every single year. Yeah. You must turn over all of your documents to the central USSIRS government, and we will go through all of your documents, and if you miss one fucking apostrophe or decimal on that, we can fucking throw you in jail. We could go back 20 years on you and ruin all your fucking shit, and we will never tell you what you owe us, but you must report to us, and we will tell you if you're wrong. And like, if you just saw that and some foreign government did that to us, you'd be like, oh, we live under a totalitarian dictatorship. Like that's what it is. But it's just because we did it to ourselves, everyone's like, that's the price. We voted to fucking pay for society. But really, it's the most fucked up shit ever. Yeah. You charge people a fee for being a productive member of society. Like it's insane. That's the most gangster shit in the world. So fine, you could even respect it and be like, you guys are some fucking. Which I do to
some degree.
Yeah,
I always try to play the game, not the get too bogged down.
Of course. And then they go, also, we're going to educate your kids to love us. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty fucking gangster. But that's what it is. It's gangster shit. Like,
do they have? I was wondering for the libertarian. Like, are there other countries that have strong libertarian movements? Is that a pretty U.S. centric thing?
It's
I know Canada has like nothing like that.
No,
I think India has a lot of those like Ayn Rand guys. Dude, all the dudes I grew up who were. Like a lot of Indian dudes I grew up, like they're like, college kid, white boy thing was very, they loved like Ayn Rand shit.
But like other like parties in other countries?
There's more like, there's like freedom movements in different areas in different countries. And some countries are like very free in some areas and very not free in other areas. Yeah. There's like Singapore is like fucking like really free in a lot of economic ways. They're like a big crypto haven right now, right?
Yeah,
like economically, business-wise, they're very free. But socially, they're like, you fucking spit gum on the street. Of course, you're gonna fucking have a problem.
Remember that kid who got caned?
Yeah. It's kind of, it's very weird, man. But really, America was, we're the freest country in the world, and that's what we fucking. But they're
because I know like there's so many countries. You ever see like it'll be like a blip on the news because nobody really cares, but they'll have like an election. And like so many countries have like 10 parties. Even Canada has. You go on a ballot. There's so many parties. I guess here, how many parties when you go to a vote are like listed on a ballot?
I think most of the time, not many. I mean, even the Libertarian Party is not on every ballot, and they're like the biggest third party. But even that, we just kind of have a system here in America where it's kind of like there might be some other like faggoty parties on that ballot. Yeah, but you got two choices. Yeah, so let's fucking. That's kind of like the thing. You guys know what we're doing. So it's but there's good and bad to all that. When you have like a ton of parties, you get some real kooky party that ends up taking over. So
I always laughed actually with the whole thing where like countries like America, where they're like, we're so much better and freer than China, and you're like, you have one more party. It's like that is literally one more party.
Even when they go, they're a one-party state, and you're like, you're a two-party state.
Yeah, you have one more.
And the two parties are very similar.
Yeah, you're like, well, technically it's 100% more parties.
That's a really fucking good way to put it, man.
I guess the whole benefit was that is almost. it like keeps people calmer because there's an illusion of like we'll get it back next time.
But you see that, right? And that's been the whole thing. At least it's so clear in the last like 20 years, like in the 21st century, right, where it's like fucking George W. Bush just fucked up, and everyone acknowledges. I mean, everyone, but like 70% of the country just goes, "Yeah, he fucked up," and so we're going with Barack Obama because fucking we can't. Republicans fucked up, Democrats are good, and then Barack Obama just does more of the same. And they go,
he tagged him in like a wrestling tag team party.
Yeah, they go, fuck that, we're going Trump because you fucked up. They go, Trump, fuck that, we're going Biden. But really, when you step back, you're like, oh, the same shit has kind of been happening.
Well, you can't just like put the brakes on everything someone did in the previous administration, being like, we're ending everything and starting from scratch. But the point, you never get anything done.
But they don't even put the brakes. They just accelerate.
Yeah.
Like if from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden was like, if you were measuring it, like it would be like this.
It's all
you know, it might be going up and down a little bit, but the trend is it's going up. Like, where's the fucking spending, the debt, the military budget, the fucking money printing, all the like shit that actually matters that no one ever fucking talks about. You're like, no, there's no one really fucks with any of that. Like, no one really changes anything. Like, you know, fucking Barack Obama's defense secretary was when he first came in? It was Gates, Bush's defense secretary. Yeah. He fucking kept him on. And you know, fucking like runs the Treasury Department? Someone who used to work at Goldman Sachs.
Always.
Like every fucking time. Like the shit that really fucking matters, no one really fucks with any of that.
No.
Like,
yeah, the banks also, I think actually Schultz was saying too, other people have said this too, but the idea of when the banks were getting mad about stuff online, it was like, that's who's taking the moral standard. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, it's one of all the people, if you look around and you go, okay, I'm getting a lecture from the government, I'm getting a lecture from the banks, you go, I don't think any of these people should be giving anyone a lecture ever. Yeah. It's almost the arrogance of banks to not just kind of be like, yeah, you know what, well, we know we're not going to get involved here. You know what I mean? You know what it is? It's the guy that's like cheating nonstop. That's like real vocal about, you know, publicly eating like in church.
That's exactly right, though. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is, dude. All this fucking woke shit coming from giant corporations is the exact equivalent of the fucking the Republican congressman who's like, these gays are destroying society, who they find blowing some dude in a fucking truck stop bathroom. That's what it is. But they're trying to get out ahead of it and be like, look, we're the good guys ahead of this moral outrage, because what they want is everyone to be fighting over, like, oh, isn't this awful, this misinformation online? Or isn't it so awful that someone said trans women aren't women? Let's fucking cancel him. And they're like, focus on that, so you don't focus on the fact that we're raping everyone.
Yeah, even if the misinformation is the funniest one. Like, it sometimes is fun to, like, you need to zoom out to kind of remember like how crazy it is, because it all becomes normal, even if you think it's crazy. But you go, ever been a conversation where someone like a comic or someone will be just like, oh, it's crazy, like there's misinformation everywhere, like, and you'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, I've had conversations with like real people where it's like, this is like a real thing that's like, they're like stressed out because there's like misinformation.
And like, you think this is
what are you talking about?
You think, like, it's like, yeah, man.
Crazy fucking, like, your brain's so fried. You're just like, they're fucking.
Yeah, they watch MSNBC and they're like, the misinformation everywhere.
Right.
Or is like the misinformation touching you? Like, it's that, right?
It was like with the election interference. Remember, they were like, oh, Russia's meddling. Like, how dare they? And you're like, what do you think America's doing in other countries?
Yeah.
Like, you think this is like this one-time deal where like Russia's just meddling in American politics, but like America's not doing this in probably 40 other countries,
dude? And that shit
all
was
the time.
Always like, they would say, and they would repeat the line over and over again. They go, Russia hacked our elections. Like, if you ever go look for like a compilation of that on fucking YouTube or whatever, you find compilation of every powerful person like saying Russia hacked our election. And then like, if you ever just start like, you're like, how did they do that? And they're like, by interfering in the election. And you're like, how did they do that?
Of course.
By the end of it, you go, they play some Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And like, that's what the whole thing comes down to. And then it's always like, well, 3 different intelligence agencies all said that they interfered in the election. You're like, okay, fine. Give me the fucking evidence. Like, what did they actually do? And it comes, when you get down to it, it's like nothing.
No, it's like, see,
fucking nothing.
It's like this guy in Texas would have voted for Hillary, but then he changed his mind because of a video he saw on Facebook.
You're like, okay, so if you're influencing someone, is this podcast hacking an election? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean if you change someone's mind because you said something and they were persuaded by that? Like, it's so bizarre.
Well, if they had the right opinion originally.
Well, they're like,
I guess so, right?
They're like, so we do that.
So it's like, it's so weird how these fucking things could be put out, and then everyone like just like unthinkingly repeats the same fucking point, and they say all these fucking things, and man, dude, I really think, and I don't know, Vladimir Putin's fucked up, dude. He's a fucked up guy. He's a gangster. Like I say, all these governments are gangsters.
If you were watching that as like a movie
and
of his life, like, which I don't know if they would.
Yeah, he's a KGB gangster, dude.
No, that's
like when
the
I say
series of him, like the El Chapo series that they like make about him. If they stop hating him and they will.
Well, isn't it easy, right? Even when I was saying before,
crazy.
when I was saying like, oh, the government are basically gangsters, right? It's almost like when you say that, people go like, huh, okay, because we're thinking of our government. But how easy is it for me to convince you if I'm talking about another government? Like if I was talking about the Saudis and I go, they are gangsters. Yeah. Everyone goes, of course they're fucking gangsters. Is Putin a gangster? Of course. So it's like a religion thing. It's like you're an atheist for every other religion, just not for your fucking religion, right? So you're like, you don't believe in any of that shit. You think that's all bullshit, but only your one is correct.
Yeah.
All right. So, which I'm not saying that it can't be the case, but I'm just saying that. So these guys, right? He is a gangster, but at the same time, I go with all this shit. We've just been fucking with this gangster for years. Every important person has been saying he stole our elections and he did this and he put bounties on Russian soldiers' heads and he fucking made Hunter Biden's laptop to fucking put all these lies that were not we all know are complete bullshit, and they're just like saying this over and over and over, and then he finally fucking invades his neighboring country and people are like, why is he doing this? And you're like, I don't know, stop fucking with him. I mean, who cares? He's got nukes. Stop fucking with him.
For sure. Yeah. And again, they were just like for 5 years leading up to the whole thing, they were like, he's bad, and they're like, he's just nonstop how bad he is, and then
eventually he
is bad. I think that he is, but it's like, I think the point is you're like, yeah, you guys all are.
Yeah, you're bad too. He's bad 5,000 miles away with nuclear weapons. Sure, yeah. So let him fucking be bad over there, and who the fuck cares? Yeah. Like that's it.
It's a good point. Like when they make, because it kind of shows a window into the thing. Because if you go, every big like mafia guy, gangster, like Pablo Escobar, gets some like a movie made about him where he's the protagonist.
Right.
Have they ever made like a movie where Gaddafi's the protagonist? Like where like probably it's in no politician gets to be the protagonist. Like it's kind of an interesting thing to think like, but Mexican like gangsters like raping kids and murdering people. That guy gets a movie series where he's the protagonist. At least they try to tell it accurately. But this you can't. They'll never tell any politics things without propaganda.
Well, there's been a few exceptions to that ever.
Yeah,
which I love. One? Well, because I do think in general, I think like gangster movie. There's like gangster movies and there's like political movies and shit like that. But I think like I think in The Godfather, one of the fucking greatest lines ever in the history of a fucking movie was when Michael Corleone says to Kay, and she's like, oh, you're going into your father's business. You said you would never go into his business. And he goes, my father's a powerful man. He goes like a governor or a senator. And Kay goes, I forget the exact line, but she goes, do you hear yourself how ignorant you sound, Michael? She goes, your father has people killed. Governors and senators don't have people killed. And Michael Corleone goes, who's being ignorant now, Kay? Right, or who's being naive now, Kay? Something like that was the line. And it's like, that's a fucking brilliant line to be like, oh yeah, really? You're the fucking naive one? Sure. And then the other thing I thought was, what's it called? With before we all found out Kevin Spacey rapes boys, House of Cards was a real great one. That was a great fucking little series that caught on where they were just like, yo, we're just gonna fucking do a fucking politicians are gangsters.
No, they'll do that.
That really let you fucking know like
there's
this is kind of how it is.
So
that was kind of cool. But then there's a lot of.
But I'm saying like what's give Gaddafi a Pablo Escobar series.
Well, there's like The West Wing and The American President and like these type of movies
with what's his face.
Well, they mock them sometimes.
That's
like, oh, you're retarded, and then they'll make them heroes sometimes, but I kind of enjoy the ones where they really make them the gangsters. Like they're like, no, this is really just view them the same way you would anyone else. Like, what is it? Fuck it. Like I said before, it's just like, what is it? Like, what is taxing someone other than just being like, hey, give me your money or I'll fuck your shit up. Yeah. And like, oh, okay. And you could say like, well, they did something with that money that was kind of good.
With the de Blasios and stuff, and like the Cuomos and stuff, they don't even pretend to not sound like the mafia guys.
No, they're. Why is it such an easy transition? It's such an easy transition from so many of those fucking Ginzo thugs to come right into my fucking. All right, I married an Italian. My kids are half Italian. All right, but still, these people have it in their blood.
there's no alternative.
I watch my kids every day.
Yeah, you can't just like move. You can't be like, oh, I don't like the tax policy in this country. I'm going to move to a different country. Like, it doesn't work that way.
It worked. Well, we moved.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy.
No, it's not.
Like,
Yeah,
your normal
they're
person
like,
is-
okay, you owe us some money though. They'll even like give you like they'll have a gangster. They'll have a gangster attitude with that too. It's like, oh, you want to move? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you got in your pockets if you want to move? You know, like it's
They shake you upside down. Yeah. And then also on top of that, it's like, what happens if I don't pay? It's like, we put you in a jail and a bunch of guys rape you forever. It's not even like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The punishment is like, yeah, we put you in a place and then we get like the shit kicked out of you for 7 years and then raped.
Yeah.
And we don't even really stop it that much.
and that's I love how
Kinda laugh about it,
That's
if
always
anything.
like a punchline too.
I know.